I'm going into this blind like I kind of feel like I usually do. Sometimes I try to get like an outline, and I was going to do one today, and I just said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just wing it. In my last vlog, wow. Fucking fuck, bro. Similar to last time's episode. Nope. This is fucking A, dude. I need to like write a fucking script or get a teleprompter or something. Just fucking have it here. Yeah, I wrote all this down. It makes sense to me on paper. I can't fucking articulate it in fucking words. I write words. I can't speak words. And I forgot to turn off my fucking heater. God damn it. Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time. I really should have written a script. In my last vlog, I was talking about how I disconnected from social media a year prior, back in like November 2024. The main takeaway from the last vlog was to listen with intent and speak with your heart. And I feel like the last few months have really kind of solidified that belief for me. I was going through some shit then where it was the beginning of what I like to call the period of forgiveness, the trial of forgiveness. My grandpa passed away a couple months ago. I was also balancing a lot of the family dynamics. I was balancing a lot of, my personal relationships, with friends and whatnot. And the whole time I was going through all that, it felt like a mirror was being held up to me around every corner. All these memories and all these thoughts that I had at some point in my 31 years of living are just coming to the surface, and I had to either face head on, hence the hallway of mirrors, and essentially learn to forgive it and let go. And this concept of forgiveness and letting go is something that's easier said than done. And I think a lot of people can attest to that. I don't think it's ever really out of sight, out of mind kind of a mentality, I think there's this misconception that when you forgive something from the past, or when you forgive yourself or whatever it is, like when you're letting it go, you're getting rid of it in its entirety. And I wanted to bring this up because with the new year, 2026, I think a lot of people are wanting to let go of what doesn't serve them, what doesn't resonate with them, and I will be 100% on board supporting all that. But it's not as simple as just letting it go. Because letting it go in that sense kind of is like doing the experience a disservice itself, even though the experience is what got us to come to this realization. Without the experience, there would be no epiphanies, right? There would be no growth. I mean, first you have to allow yourself to feel. Everything's based off of feeling, we feel these emotions. So a lot of the times, what I found for me at least, is when I'm now being forced to look at the shadow side of stuff, is I'm being forced to relive these feelings that I actually never allowed myself to feel from years ago whenever the experience happened. It was something that was quickly stowed away and out of sight, out of mind. And there's this whole thing with shedding our old identities, shedding our old beliefs, our old systems. It's re-emerging as something kind of like a phoenix, kind of like a butterfly of sorts, metamorphosis, but it's still the same creature, the same being after such a massive change. So really, it's not new. It's still you. Like when you're shedding something that no longer resonates with you, you're not shedding the experience. You're just shedding the falsehoods that no longer resonate. I think we're always trying to find our best purpose in life. We're trying to find our own highest good in life. And the thing with these falsehoods is at one point we believe them to be true. So it's not saying that they're wrong. It's just saying that at one point they were true. They served a purpose in that part of life that we were experiencing. These 10-year increments are like mini lifetimes within a lifetime, So like how many lifetimes are you living in this lifetime? Or how many experiences are you going through in these chapters? We're ever changing what we are. We are always redefining who we are. There's no correct answer as to who we are. And I think that's the one thing I'm finally starting to accept and wrap my head around, is that's the whole point of experiencing all these different facets of life. And I think with how close it is within reach, that comfort, I really think that's probably the real temptation of what will either not stop us from growing not stopping us from reinventing ourselves, but essentially just delaying the process. And I think it's really hard for us to acknowledge that some of the stuff that we may have deemed to be true is no longer true, but at some point we're going to have to face our own reality of what truth is, and we're going to have to more or less learn to forgive and be kind to ourselves for making mistakes along the way, for allowing ourselves to not feel our true emotions that we're feeling, And there's nothing wrong with that, though. And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. So with the new year, when people are saying a new year, new me, what does a new you look like, actually? Because to me, brand new means it has not been touched, it has not been scarred, it has not been burdened, it has not been loved. And the question I really just want to ask is it really a new you if you step into a version of yourself that has been waiting for you since the day you were born? That's why I'm not buying this whole new year, new me, wipe this slate clean. It's just not who we are. But that's not to say that you can't reinvent yourself. Reinventing is not creating a new you. Reinventing is using established tools, established theories, established experiences that we store here in our hearts, right? That's what allows us to feel, right? When you listen with intent and speak with your heart, it opens up everything, Charles Bukowski has a poem called No Leaders Please. Say what you will about the man. Personally, I love that poem. When you read it, it's raw, it's vulnerable, it's essentially reinventing yourself using the light and the dark aspects of our past experiences to create something better for hope, for a new future. And I think it's the experience of everything is what really makes us who we are at our core. I'm living a different experience, you're living a different experience. Everyone's going through different experiences, and it's all contributing to this mass collective experience where we get to share it with one another all at once. The experience of everything is not only who we are at our core, but it's also contributing to the experience of being this ever-changing consciousness of all these lifetimes that we're living right now. Remember, I said these increments, these 10-year increments, these 5-year increments, whatever increments you want to call it, these chapters in our life, they're like mini lifetimes. Think about where you started before you learned something, and by the time that chapter ends, think where you are. What happened in that time period. And I think at the end of the day, when we're shedding these old identities, these old belief systems, these old patterns, right? It's acknowledging these patterns, being the ones to break them, right? It's to be in that position, to be in that position to be able to do that. It's so powerful, so it's so empowering. I would encourage a lot of recognizing old patterns, shedding the old. I would acknowledge doing the shadow work, everything. At the end of the day, we really must shed these old patterns, these old versions of ourselves to move forward, to be ahead, right? But we also must fall behind as well and allow ourselves to fall behind, to embrace the experiences of the old and recognize what something new will actually look like in our life. So I think 2026 is going to be really insightful for a lot of people. I think there's going to be a lot of movement going forward. There's probably going to be more global shit going on too, but I'm choosing to focus more on the positive stuff and really making the best of what I have, which has not always been easy. But it's also not something I've actually tried myself, because I've always been the one to limit my own experience with my own fears, my own traumas, my own patterns. It's always been me holding myself back. Anyway, short little video. I don't know how this is going to turn out. This might be a first draft. Who fucking knows? But that's all I got. So happy 2026. Let's bring on the new year.